my favorite people. I say that a lot, but this time I really mean it because me and this guy have history. We came into IU together. We stayed all 4 years together. And, we've been through the ups and downs of what true IU basketball is all about. I got Luke Jimenez now. I heard the voicemail. I see you switched it up on me. It was Jimenez when I met him.
That's right.
And you used to catch from the people about being Jimenez who wanted you to be Jimenez.
Exactly.
So now you're Jimenez. What's up, brother?
Either way, hey AJ, it's good to be here, man. Either way is all good. Hey, AJ Guyton, by the way, can I get an autograph?
Yeah, that's what you.
Jimenez, because I'm down here in Florida. Obviously, a lot of Spanish Latino people down here. So you can say it either way. Up north, Minnesota, Indiana, Midwest. Yeah, Jimenez, but all good.
Yeah, hey, I'm with it. Whatever. I think Jimenez sounds better anyway.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, so what are you doing right now, man? What are you doing professionally right now?
Yeah. So after school, had thoughts of continuing to play somewhere, but you know what? Maybe in the decision making, thought of getting out of basketball. So that's the route in which I took. Coaching was an option. However, I kind of just wanted to really take some time away from playing ball. Get away. And so I got in, Buzz. Buzz had a contact within the pharmaceutical industry for sales. Mm-hmm. And so I was lucky enough to land a position within Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, a popular name right now due to COVID, of course. But 20 years ago is when I started, still with them today, down in Florida. Been kind of around the Tampa Bay area as far as my territory as a sales rep. But yeah, very, very pleased with the decision I made at the time. It was, stepping away, you know how it is. You kind of want to continue to play, but my body at the time was ready to move on.
So, I mean, in short, for all Hoosier fans listening, Luke gave up his basketball career to be a drug dealer. That's pretty much.
Hey, pretty much I don't know if we want to go that far, right? Yeah. But yeah, in the profession of sales, pharmaceutical sales rep, you would call it. But yeah,
right. Okay, we call them street pharmacists where I'm from. Are there any other former IU players in that profession?
Yeah, so Steve Risley was actually the original person that got me involved. He was my contact for someone down here in Florida. So he's a manager. Obviously, he started out at the lower levels and worked your way up. So he was a manager at the time. That was a while ago. Risley. Todd Lindemann is in the industry. Robbie Eggers, he's kind of bounced around. He was with a big one called Merck, and then he's moved down. I forget where he's at exactly. But yeah, there's been quite a few of us. Even I believe Wrecker, we played with him he's in not on the pharmaceutical side, but he's medical sales. So same idea. But yeah, it's been good. I gotta say, Pfizer treats us well, and I'm glad I made that decision, right?
Absolutely, man, because you look less stressed. You look basketball, and you keep going, and make your hair fall out.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta keep it tight. Gotta keep it tight.
So
exactly.
Let's take you all the way back to the beginning, man. You from Minnesota? What city in Minnesota?
Exactly, Minnesota. So Mankato is where I grew up, small town. However, kind of bounced around. Ended up in Redwood Falls. Coming out of high school. But similar to, I think our maybe one of the things too that linked us together coming in, so I was obviously a walk-on, right? So no name, really not a name as far as Indiana basketball is concerned, not coming in, not really recruited. I was more Division II, small D1s, all around kind of the Midwest, but nothing like IU, right?
Right.
But that was always the goal, get to IU. So you and I think clicked right off the bat for really teaming up, going into IU. It was a good mesh, good mix. You tell me real quick, your backstory too, right? I know Felling was involved.
Yeah.
Kind of got you there. You kind of that hot, cold, hey, yeah, we'll take you now.
Right. We had this, it was a different time. It was, I think, IU was looking for some stability at the guard position, man. And I was actually still open at that time, being recruited by Michigan State, St. Louis, a couple other schools. But for me, it was just an opportunity to play right away. So it was a no-brainer for me. And the good thing is I didn't know much about Coach Knight. I knew who he was and I heard of him, but I hadn't done research because we're in Bradley University of Illinois country. So not many Indiana games were on TV in my area. So going in, once he told me, hey, We're gonna make sure you graduate in 4 years and get your degree, and we're gonna make sure you got a good job when you're done. I was sold, and you got an opportunity to start and play. Not only play but start. So it's like, I didn't know Michael, I didn't know you, I didn't know anybody, but I was like, I'm looking at him like, okay, I can hoop, so I got a good chance, man.
Yeah.
So, but
Good
yeah,
decision.
it was a great decision, man. But for you, what is the connection to IU basketball? How did that get all the way up to Minnesota too?
Yeah, it was a bit unusual. So, back then, 20 plus years ago now. So Minnesota really wasn't a powerhouse for hoops, right? Not for basketball. It was more of a hockey state. Everything was really geared toward hockey. So IU basketball was really kind of ingrained in our family from my dad. So he was a coach. He coached us growing all the way, from little all the way up in through my high school years. And it was always Coach Knight's way. He was a disciple of Coach Knight, run the motion offense, tough defense, no exceptions, no excuses, compete. So it was really it was just brought ingrained like, hey, if we can get to this level, obviously watching, I'll never forget watching Keith Smart. I know Smart was on here.
Yeah.
And, hitting in 87, hitting the shot of probably the best shot in IU history, right?
Right. That shot.
Yeah, that was that, what? If that was really kind of you're a kid, but hey, that's my goal. I want to be there. And it was a running joke really when I was growing up. Oh, if Coach Knight's still there, yeah, we'll see. He'll be so old, he won't be there. Well, it kind of just stuck in the back of my mind growing up, and my dad pushed me quite a bit. I had two older brothers that helped out, right, beating up on me every day.
Right. Yeah.
That plays a huge factor.
Yeah,
it plays a huge factor. And so, that was always, that if I can get to that goal, and now now you talk about it. It was completely different than everybody that you all had on. Like you at least, I was going there basically begging, hey, take me, I want to come play for you.
Right.
Matter of fact, I went there on my junior season. I'll never forget. I'd go there, like, hey, I'd already sent tape. I wrote him a letter. That's when he wrote letters back then. Wrote him a letter, sent him tape. Hey, I'm interested in coming and walking on. He's like, all right, sure, whatever. Really don't know you. Come on, we'll just come over to a game. So my dad and I, we drove from Minnesota to IU, go and meet with Coach in the cave, of course, the cave in the back room. And he sits us down, and he looks at me. He goes, you want to come play for me? He goes, and I go, yes, sir. And he goes, do you have any other basketball options of where you could go to get a scholarship? Right. And I go, yes, I do. And he goes, we'd love to have you. However, you really probably should, obviously go play somewhere else.
Wow.
And we'll watch you, but you probably should go elsewhere.
Right.
And so my dad and I, we walked out of there like, hey, it's going to be even harder than we thought, right? So we got going into senior year, made some good things, made some moves happen, reach out to him again. And then, it's a little bit more detailed, but things happened. Things happened and kind of fell into place for me to be on the team.
Let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now's the time. Bet Rivers Sportsbook is offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one play through to turn your bonus into cash money. When you win at Bet Rivers Sportsbook, they pay fast. And now it's even faster with Rush Pay instant approval for withdrawals. It's safe, it's secure, it's reliable. With March Madness around the corner, there's never been a better time to give Bet Rivers Sportsbooks a try. Go to betrivers.com today or download the Bet Rivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling a problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Rewinding that back, you said you played for your dad, right?
Yes.
What was the experience like getting to play for your father, and what things did he do, hindsight being 2020, that prepared you for college?
Yeah, so I mean, him and Coach, like I kind of alluded to it, he was very similar to Coach in the fact that high expectations, right? So he would come into a program, so he'd been in 3 different ones for various reasons, and I'd kind of bounced around with high school, but he would come in and turn things around, and you'd have a winning program, and it worked. He had a method to his madness of hey, we're going to do it this way, do it my way, but it worked. Right. And kids responded. I think things are completely different now, but prepared you for what Coach Knight, a style of coach night, right? I mean, no one's really ready. I would say no one's really ready for
Right.
coach night gives you.
Exactly.
But as best as you can be prepared for that next step. He did a good job. So no, I loved it. I wouldn't have played, I played for a couple other guys in high school too, but my dad, he had a gene. He probably should have been a college coach. He had a gene.
Right.
He knew what he was doing. He knew how to motivate kids, got him going, put a very, biggest thing is cohesiveness.
Yeah.
Got us all together. And it was great experience, man. I would never have changed it.
That's good,
my
man.
dad. Yeah.
You mentioned you had some other options. What were those other options? And then what made you push them to the side and take on the challenge of walking on at IU?
Yeah, so so there are small mid-major D1s around the area. However, and we're just talking at the time, so you had like an Arizona State, you had a Liberty, right. Dayton, nothing of substance really. As far as I was concerned, I wasn't going to go to something like that
at that time.
At that time, correct.
Definitely, yeah.
And then even in the regional area where I lived, you had University of North Dakota, University of North Dakota State, Mankato, or they call it Minnesota State now. There were some, and those were D2. They weren't D1 at the time. I probably would have stayed local, but at the back of my head, and I always, you kind of think of decisions that you make in your life, right? And it kind of,
definitely
the projection, right? So if I don't make that decision to go to IU and even walk on, even though I had a guaranteed thing on the other side, I'm definitely not where I'm at right now. I definitely don't have my 2 kids, my wife, the whole setup, working for Pfizer for 20 years. It's such a trajectory of where it puts you on your path. Going and being as a walk-on, it was, I think Leary was one, or maybe not Leary, but I know, oh my gosh, Hillman. So it was a select few of people at the time. So my chances weren't very good.
Right.
I shouldn't have been on that team, but I was. Just it happened that way, and I fell that way. But man, it's been and it all comes. We'll probably talk about it later, but it all comes back to even at the end of the day when we're meeting. It was a year ago now for coaches reunion at IU. I mean, good Lord, of all the special times that we had at IU those 4 years, coming back, it's got to be right there at the top. And I'm so glad that I was involved.
Definitely talking about that. Did you ever get a chance to talk to Hillman and Leary about being a walk-on at that time, or you just went in straight blind?
No, I knew there was a select few, and that's all I knew. Man, AJ, so it should have never happened. So it should have never happened, right? So he tells me really now, don't come. Even the summer of, right? So we went and played summer ball, right?
Yep.
We went on that tour. We go around, scheduled from Tim Knight, and that was a good time. That was fun time.
Yeah.
Us, Collier, Lewis. But even after that tour, and then you're there for summer workouts.
Don't gloss over the tour, because we weren't. We weren't McDonald's All-Americans.
Oh yeah,
we were Coca-Cola All-Americans.
Coca-Cola, that's right.
And Hoosier All-Americans.
I still got those the shorts today, I think.
I know. I sold mine. I got rid of it. I was like, man, I'm a Coca-Cola All-American.
And that was my first experience with you, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
So coming into that, I'm like, all right, I heard of Collier, I heard of Lewis, right? McDonald, they're pretty highly touted, all them, their names in there. I'm like, all right, so who's AJ? Who's this AJ?
Right.
And there's no internet back then, so how are you supposed to find out about you? So
right, exactly.
So we go and play one of our first games. I'm like, all right, that's AJ. Okay. The kid can play. All right. And then we went on that tour, and one thing after another, and it became clear that our class coming in was going to be, pretty formidable class for the upperclassmen there.
Right. And now I forgot about that tour, man. It was a heck of a tour. People don't know. I think Tim Knight used to put a tour together of all the incoming freshmen, and we would go up to Muncie. We went up to Fort Wayne, and we would play a series of games, sign autographs. Remember, we was wearing these big old Sean Kemp Reeboks, I think they were, that we got a chance to get. It was my first time really getting a lot of gear. We got some gear to wear, some Indiana stuff. So I wish they I don't know if they still do that. I doubt it, but that was an opportunity for our recruits to bond and get to know one another. And like he said, there was no internet, there was no Instagram. You just didn't know what you were going to get.
Correct.
And so it was an opportunity for us to see one another in action, man. But before we get into
Hey,
our relationship, go ahead.
Hold on, I got to clarify something. When you say gear, by the way, because I get this question even 20-some years later, like, oh, they hooked you up, right? And all that.
Not
I'm
that.
like, no. The clear answer is we got the stuff that nobody else bought in the stores. They brought it to us.
Exactly right.
know, hey, Converse, LA gear. No. At the time, it was nothing like what we got now. Adidas. Come on, man. No.
But to us, it was like, for me, I was like, man, I got a bag. I got the jerseys. I got but that was gear to me. Now I would have gave that to the next person I saw. And
right, exactly.
But before we get into our IU basketball experience, I want to take you to a segment called the Hoosier 10, man. It's 10 questions that only Indiana basketball players will be able to answer. So I'm going to start with it. I know the answer to this, but what was your first dorm on campus?
Oh, yeah, man. You know we loved it. We did it right in Disco Briscoe there. Come on.
Briscoe,
Come on. So close to campus. You know what? Yeah, walking. Well, at least it was close to Assembly Hall, but walking in the January, February, man, that sucked.
Yeah, we can sleep in a little bit, run across the street, get the practice on time. But problem is, we was on the 9th floor and it was hot as hell. I do remember that. It's hard to cook ramen noodles in the microwave.
Good memory. Hey, don't forget downstairs the spaghetti. You and the spaghetti meatballs. Those 2 meals a day that we had. That was our package. 2 meals. That was it.
Yeah. Breast. What's your favorite at that time? What was your favorite restaurant to eat in Bloomington?
Yeah, we went there a couple times. I think it's you, me, maybe Len, Larry, maybe even a little bit. Ryan's Steakhouse. Yeah. I don't know if it's still there. That salad was good, man. Anything you ordered. Yeah, Ryan.
Support for today's episode of House of Hoosier with AJ Guyton is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over the technology developments to provide you with the best tool for your grooming experience. With more than 2 million users worldwide, Manscaped has partnered with me to provide an exclusive offer to you, 20% off and free shipping with the code Hoosier20 at manscaped.com. Before we get back to the show, let me tell you a little bit about their Perfect Package 3.0 kit. It starts with the Lawnmower 3.0, the third-generation trimmer that features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. You don't want to worry about nicking the goods while you're trying to clean up down there. Feel confident with the Lawnmower 3.0. In addition to the new blade, the Lawnmower 3.0 comes with an LED light for a more precise trim, and it's waterproof, so if you can take the grooming to the shower. The Perfect Package 3.0 also comes with the Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing deodorant and moisturizer, and the Crop Preserver, which keeps the goods from sticking to your leg. Plus, Manscaped threw in a couple of free gifts, a pair of boxer briefs and a travel bag, so you can go trim on the go. So get 20% off and free shipping right now with the code Hoosier20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com with code Hoosier20. Your goods will thank you.
When the last time were you in Bloomington? Last time you was in Bloomington?
Yeah, it was for coaches reunion, obviously. So that was last February. I want to say it was like last week of this last year, right? So that was a special time, man. Whenever you come back to Bloomington and you go to IU, a lot has changed, right? I mean, just on campus, by in and around Assembly Hall, but that was special. That might be the pinnacle of what encompasses IU, right? IU basketball is having coach come back and we're there and pretty special.
We're going to dive into that. So hold them thoughts. Your most memorable game as a player.
Oh, man. Memorable game. Hey, it's a short list, right? So mine, no. So coming from Minnesota, I actually had a good game up at Minnesota and we won one of the few times we were up there. So, I had done, obviously I wasn't the largest scorer. I didn't put up a ton of points, but being active in that game and just showing, I had a bunch of people there, of course, had everybody's tickets. Nobody's going to Minnesota, right? Your family's not making it to Minnesota. So it worked out well. Had a good game in Minnesota. And then, Minnesota only gets you so much playing time after that. You got to keep producing, right? So that was a quick blip.
Do you remember your stat line?
I had 13 points.
Yeah, okay. That's
Hey,
good.
hey.
There it is. There it is. Also, well, next question. Outside of me, who best player you played against in college?
Hey, you know you got to be up there too. By the way, kicking
top
everybody's
three.
ass.
I get top three.
Yeah, that was. I gotta say, day in and day out, that was rough. But no, man. Hey, so I throw up Mateen Cleaves. That dude was strong, fast. I mean, at the time, probably not the greatest shooter, right? But it didn't even matter. It didn't even matter. I would just go. I mean, pretty much, just go around you, a great leader, pushing up the floor. Michigan State was just a beast of a program too at that time. So Cleaves, I put Cleaves right up there.
Definitely. Shout out Mateen. Mateen's in my wedding.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Most memorable Coach Knight moment.
Coach Knight. Okay, so you know what? I'd have to actually say, you go through 4 years. My interaction probably not as much as you or some of these other leaders I'd say on the team, right? So the interaction that I did have with them, was more of a, hey, get better, let's go. What are we doing to get better and all that kind of stuff. Right. So, but after the 4 years, coach, so I interviewed for a position with Pfizer as my first boss at the time. Mm-hmm. And so I said, hey, coach, is there any way you can make a phone call? And he was actually kind of upset with me that I hadn't already reached out to him prior to that interview. And I'm like, hey, well, if there's any possible way you can make this call, I'd really appreciate it. So he was actually made a phone call to my first boss within Pfizer, was on the phone for about an hour and a half with him talking about, all things IU, but of course, and the character and the person that I was. And so that was probably my most memorable and thankful moment for Coach making that call.
That's dope, man. I love that story. When I say the name Tim Garl, what word comes to mind?
Oh, man. Tim Garl, genuine, the best. Just a great human being, but the best person to possibly have across all generations, Hoosier basketball. And he needs to stay there for as long as possible because he is the remaining thread that connects us all.
Absolutely. I thought you was gonna say Cabbage Man.
Cabbage Man. Well, hey, Cabbage Man. That was always a good day too.
No, but okay. Who is your top 5 favorite Indiana Hoosier basketball players ever?
Yeah, of course. I got Elford, of course, right?
Absolutely.
Elford, Isaiah.
More 12 because of him. All right.
Exactly. Hey, you gotta, man. I mean, hey, he's right up there. So Elford, Isaiah, Cal, of course, Cal. In the fourth, you always, I never watched him. I don't know. I probably need to watch film, but Quinn. He's always a good one, Quinn Buckner or Alan Henderson. That was a little bit more of the person that I saw. So I kind of between Quinn and Al, maybe you give it to Quinn because he was on the championship team. How they got there. By the way, I watched the 92 and they should have. I watched it like 3 months ago again. I had to rewatch that game of them being in the Final Four.
Yep.
Man, it got stolen. It was just stolen.
Ty Leary made it interesting though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But Teddy, TV Teddy.
Teddy.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. 3 calls in the second half against Cal, man. I'm like, what in the world? You should see how many guys are in foul trouble.
Right.
Whole 35 sitting on the bench.
Definitely.
Anyway.
Okay. And finally, if you would say, what player personifies Indiana basketball? When you think of Indiana basketball, what player do you think comes to mind? One player.
I mean, so being from Minnesota, you watched, right? And I'd have to go to those 90s teams and, Damon Bailey, man. I mean, you heard about him in high school. He was recruited when he was in 8th grade. I mean, he was just kind of that guy, that kid that you heard about and knew about, household name, everybody. He did it the right way, and Damon Bailey definitely probably at the top of that one.
I would say one of my answers would be Damon Bailey or Steve Alford.
Either one.
When you think Indiana I think of good hair, nice and slick back, just no expression. Look up at the score. It's 20. He got 26 points, 3 and 5 rebounds. Exactly. You don't know what happened. He ain't sweating. That's what I think of.
I mean?
So, But let's talk a little bit about our experience at IU, man. What do you remember most? Do you remember anything? What do you remember most about stepping on IU's campus? We can actually go back to what you talked about. Let's talk about the tour and getting to know the guys. And then once we got back, I think we all ended up getting jobs. I think we all had jobs that summer. And they put us, we put up into some random apartment. I don't even know who apartment it was. I think me and you, that's where we became roommates first. And then, when you got on campus, what was your thoughts? Like, wow, I'm here. Like,
that's another thing. So I actually another reason why I shouldn't have probably even been there, but I was off campus. I don't know if you remember this. So I was off campus living with someone that was an association, right? That there's a backstory to that too, but I was 9 miles off campus running and biking back and forth before we started conditioning. Then we moved into Harris's place.
We were all in Harris. That's who it was. Yeah.
Harris and Robbie Eggers downstairs. But if you remember, so when we were playing 5-on-5, right? So you go conditioning, but then you're still playing 5-on-5. My first experience, so I knew you could play. I mean, it was pretty obvious during our tour with Tim Knight taking us around. I'm like, all right, AJ, they haven't seen AJ. This ought to be good. And Lewis was more, I know he came out of high school as a shooter, scorer, whatever, but he was more passing, kind of switched his role up, right?
Right.
And Collier being on the inside, I'm like, damn, man, this is a good class coming in that I'm a part of, And so I don't know if you remember this, the first scrimmage that we had. So you go conditioning, right? Everybody's conditioning, whatever, right? It sucks, whatever. You're done with that. Then you go play. And you play for another 2 hours after conditioning, which, hey, your ass is tired. And, but as soon as we go play, you remember the teams? You remember the teams? No? So it was us four and Larry. Us four and Larry against all the upperclassmen. Really? And obviously it was done on purpose. And the very first game, you don't remember this. Yeah, I think you scored his first 1 to 7, win by 2 or whatever. I think it was first 1 to 7. First 1 to 7, I want to say. You scored 6 of the 7. And the rest was like, we come back the next day, and the next day, same teams. We just kept. Yeah. So anyway, the point is the first day going against, I think it woke up Neil just a little bit at the time. Like, all right, this kid can play. But coming off screens, and you'd already adapted so well to the system, and we hadn't even been practicing yet, really.
Right.
So that was the first. My distinct memory of you was, putting it on in the first scrimmage that we had against upperclassmen.
Yeah, I love to play, man. I was shocked that they only wanted to play. Like, what I remember about scrimmaging them, they only wanted to play like 2 or 3 games. And I was like, no, we do all that running.
Just keep going.
This is the opportunity. We freshmen, we trying to show what we can do.
Exactly.
Like, and we put it on them, man. And we was like, damn. And I remember thinking like, man, it cannot be this easy. Like, that's how I'm thinking. I'm like, it cannot be this easy. They must be tired. They must not be playing hard or something. Like, because I do remember having success. I didn't know I scored 6 points.
Yeah, man. You had 6 of the 7.
Success, man. And but that's the mindset we brought back to the program was we was real hoopers. We really wanted to play, and we wanted to play a lot, man. So definitely jars my memory with that. When
hold on, you have one? You have one? Of us first going around, of us playing.
Yeah, I do remember playing for the first time and remember thinking like, is it that easy? Like, I remember the conditioning. I didn't think it was difficult. And I remember, playing after that, I had all this energy. I think now I'm thinking back, we was just freshmen that was juiced up. We really was.
Exactly.
Like, we was ready to prove that, we can hoop. But me and you for sure, genuinely loved the play. I can't speak for Michael. I think Mike was, but I can't speak for Jason at that time. But we genuinely wanted to, show what we could do. You was a walk-on. I was the last dude committed.
Exactly.
We ended up being roommates. You know what I mean? So we was really passionate about it. And let me ask you this: when I walked into what was your thoughts as a person when you look back at our relationship? Like, what was the most surprising to you about me, like that the people would like to hear?
Yeah. So you, and this is completely different than this podcast right now, because I'm shocked that you're doing the podcast. I love it. I've watched the other one.
Me too.
I love it. Yeah, but you were extremely reserved and quiet.
Right.
So nobody. Yeah, I don't know. Back then, I mean, and maybe a little bit. I'll be honest, a little bit to the detriment of the team as well, because if you're stepping up as a leader, you're the best best player on the team, obviously, and we needed that at the time. But back then, so I'd say you're quiet, humble. But genuine, man. I mean, there was no fake. There was no fake. You're just going to say it the way it is. And your energy, man, when you say energy, so I think about this too. And I thought about it in the past. So once we got actually into the season, what I was most shocked about, especially with it was just you really, because you play freshman year, you played a lot. I mean, you started in lineup, the minutes, obviously start culminating game after game after game. And especially in preseason, you come back and play a hard practice the next day.
Right.
I was dead ass tired in practice, and here you are still going after playing the night before.
Right.
And that was the most. I was kind of shocked. I know on the personal side of like, I see you. We're bullshitting or whatever. We're just talking in the dorm room, and then we're going over here and we're playing, and it's just like you had endless energy. Like it was kind of like hey, do you sleep? Or are you going to get some? You're always playing Nintendo or whatever the case was there. But yeah, man. I mean, I was shocked really by honestly your energy, being able to come back the next day. Right, you have a good night playing ball, playing in a game, and then you come back next day in practice too.
Right. I agree with what you just said earlier, man. You said that, my demeanor was as a detriment to the team. And I don't even mean that in an aggressive way, but when I look back, hindsight 2020, you have so many thoughts in your head, you know what I mean, as a player, as a person. But that atmosphere and that team, for me, it wasn't the time to express it. I just didn't, it was for one reason, it was like, you say I had energy, but I was exhausted. You know what I mean? It was like, So it was like, man, I can't become this verbal and vocal guy when I got to focus on running through screens, or I got to focus on hitting the big shot, trying to take the big shot or making the big play or just being an integral part of the team. But when I look back, I wish I would have did that. I was like, because it was in my head. It was like, man, I need to say this to Luke, man. I should say this to Wrecker, or I should say this. Even when we talk about the transfer, like when we talk about the guys who left, I wish I would have turned around and had a conversation with those guys, because I didn't know at the time we had a hell of a class. I mean, you think about it, our sophomore year, our starters could have been me, Neil, Luke Wrecker, Jason Collier, and Andre Patterson. Like, that's a Big Ten title championship team.
You got Charlie coming off the bench.
And you got Charlie Miller coming off the bench yourself. You got who else? Mike Lewis coming off the bench. You got I think, is that the year? Yeah, they had recruited Rob, and I don't know if Rob Turner and Will would have been there if these guys would have stayed there. I'm not sure if that was the time, but my sophomore year, I think they was there. They were there. Rob and Will Gladys was there. So you just have a myriad of talent, but when those transfers happened, I didn't really know anything about it. Like they were already committed to transferring before I even knew about it. Yeah. So that's one thing that we look back is like, man, and I'm looking at championship teams and teams that are really good. They all have cohesiveness as a group. They all liked each other. They all hung out with each other. They all, even if they weren't the closest of friends, they had a boundary. They were good people to one another. So that I agree totally with you when you say, man, I could have been a lot more vocal than I was. And it wasn't
maybe just you, but I think it would have helped. I don't know if it would have been the difference maker, but I know it probably would have helped a little bit. It like you said, it was a lot of tension going on. It was a fractured from start, right? With what happened with Neil and the domino effect.
Yep.
Neil, then Luke, then Collier, then Luke, and it's just year over year kind of culminated there to you just do the best that you can. It wasn't as though we weren't working our asses off,
right?
Doing everything possible, lifting, conditioning, playing, practicing. I mean, that wasn't the case, but yeah, you as your personality, you've come out of your shell now. We'll say that. Yes. Yeah,
definitely. So let me ask you this: we played a lot of games, and you talked about talent and seeing the ability in myself. At what moment did you? Because I remember it vividly. I don't remember exactly when it was, But I remember one time I want to say it was my freshman year. We got to the dorm, and you were just kind of sitting there looking at me. He was like, man, you're good. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's how you was talking. Like, damn, man, like, do you realize what you're doing? Like, you know what I mean? Producing the way you're producing. And I kind of was just like, I didn't really realize I'm just playing. I don't really think like numbers. I never was the one to go see how many points I had. And you was just kind of like, man, you're doing something special. Like you're good. Like, well, what point is there a time that you can remember where you was looking at me like, man, you got a chance to be special?
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you realize, because you said really not following the history of IU or being able to watch it on TV, right? Well, I kind of did. There's not many incoming freshmen that put up numbers, during the Knight era, during Coach Knight era, not afterward now, completely different. So you coming in and doing what you did, especially on a team that was already established, right? You had Neil, Charlie, Harris, Robbie, Mandeville, Patterson, so, I mean, the guys that could put the ball in the hoop, you kind of making your way in there and being a producer in freshman year. So the reason I don't remember that exact moment, but it was, hey, it was, to say the least, it was kind of a shock that you're able to do that in coach's system. That was, one of the stories I always remember with coach with you is AJ, move without the ball. You got to make your move before you get the ball. And I know you like to grab it, and then you're able to, because you're able to move. It's today's kind of ball of, hey, give me the ball and I'll go. Right. And but he didn't care for that too much at the time, right? He's like, make your move before, come off a screen. He was kind of in that mindset of, obviously come off the screen with motion offense. And in my opinion, you're using a lot of your energy when you're doing that. It allows players like me to hang, but when you have, yourself of such a talent of being able to make your move on your own, sometimes you got to let that rein just loose a little bit more to go ahead. And so anyway, what my point is that, man, you're special coming in. Obviously you had the decision sophomore year, junior season goes by, senior season. It was, you being first team All-American. I mean, not many guys get to be on a team or with that kind of player, right? So it is special. I'll just say that you're an elite class. And I thought I saw when, that first travel team, like, damn, he's good. So you developed into a hell of a player at IU, which I'm always shocked that it never transferred over. And I don't think it was a fault of your own. Transfer that next level, because I see guys play at the next level. I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah. I don't know how AJ. What happened or transpired there exactly, but man. I while at IU, your 4 years, obviously I put there up. As far as guards, at least, I mean, I put you. If there's a fifth face on that Mount Rushmore, I'm putting you up there.
No, I appreciate that. I understand what the Mount Rushmore is, man, and. It was a great experience. Like, as you said, it was almost great that I was kind of naive coming in, because, I mean, from a standpoint of like not knowing that, you're producing at a high level, and this hasn't happened a lot here, you know what I mean? But, Coach Knight I think he was moving towards being a little more lenient when it came offensively, especially with me, because he recognized that I could do some of those things, and you don't want to, you got to let a horse run. You can't hold him back, make it trot. You know what I mean? So, and it was I appreciated him for that, is adjusting to who I became as a player. Let's talk about Coach Knight a little bit, man. What's the method to Coach Knight's madness, man?
Method to his madness?
Yeah. What do you think? What are your thoughts about, Coach Knight I know obviously he's a great person, I don't say great person, but he's a coach who will always be there for you. He's not going to be your best friend. He's not going to call you every day, ask about your family. But if you need something, pick up the phone, he'll knock it out for you. But on the basketball floor, what was your experience with Coach Knight?
Yeah, so I would say Coach Knight, probably the best of, obviously it goes without saying, so the most competitive person that you'd probably ever come across, right? And within the bounds of being within the legalities of college basketball, of which he would not break, right? He wasn't going to break rules in order to win.
Right.
I thought he got the best or the most out of his players he challenges you every day. every day, every day. If you're not ready to come to compete today, you're going to get your ass beat. You're going to get, and to prove it. So, I obviously, hold on. So two things, I'll just show you real quick. Cause it's the best example of coach that I think, I don't know if many do it or if replicate it. I'm sure they do now, but at the time, obviously we had the red books, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I heard that you didn't have yours. I still got 3 of mine.
I don't know why I did.
Come on, man. Come on. These are precious.
That's the biggest fail of my basketball career, is not keeping that book, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, the guy, so you knew that he was detailed and right and competing and every day and having to do it every day, no off days. But I wrote down a ton of stuff. But one of the things that I kind of write down is quotes. And this one kind of resonated. I just opened it up, cracked it up, opened today and read it here. You're either going to be a hell of a competitor or you're going to go through life half-assed. And so it's like, hey, what are you going to be? What do what's your attitude going to be today? And he was that guy that, you knew, and, you were going to be questioned. Did you come in and work out? Did you put in your extra time? If you watch film, have you put up extra shots? Pre-practice, right? Our bodies for pre-practice. I know you mentioned that before. Are you out there getting the work done?
Right.
There's going to be a problem. And because the ultimate goal is to win. You want to win. We all go there to win. We want to be a part of IU because he wins, but winning it the right way, going to class, you gotta do both. You just can't do one. And so, to me, he's the ultimate competitor of doing it right and competing at the highest level and being successful doing it the right way, which you can't say that about many nowadays.
Yeah, true. Did he ever offer to get you a full scholarship?
Yeah. So my situation is a little different than yours again.
You're right.
So going in there as a walk-on, so backstory, I didn't even know I was going to be on the team. So summer workouts, we're all doing all that, right? You all knew, you already signed your letters of, your scholarships. Yeah, I didn't know I was going to be on the team. And so it got enrollment, all this, it happens in, I want to say September, when we got to take the team picture, right?
So September of what year?
So it was 2000, right? 2000, 99,
okay.
99, 99,
okay.
Right? 99, 2000 season. So it's our freshman year coming in. August, September, I forget exactly when. But anyway, we go walking in the locker room and I knew it was picture day. So it's picture day for, the team photo for that year. And I walk in the locker room and you know how the locker room's set up. So I sat by in the locker room as well. So I made a hard right turn and there's our name on the plate on top. What Kirk, I saw that podcast as well. I got to get that plate back from Kirk. There's my name and there's my jersey. And I'm like, oh man, it's probably one of the best days, at that time, best days of my life that, hey, I made the team. And so right after that, soon after that, so he kind of, whatever, coach is like, all right, yeah, go ahead and you can sign a scholarship, but it was a year-to-year situation. So I had it, but it was always hey, if we can always pull this at any time.
Right.
He never did, but all 4 years.
That's pressure. That's pressure. You gotta, not pressure. Obviously you walked on, you think you can cover it, but to just have to wonder about that each year, man, that would be like a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah, to say the least. Yes.
Jesus. Have you ever talked to Coach Knight since he made that phone call from you? Not at the reunion, but in between that time period.
No. So I never have. People ask that, and I kind of have. I just saw him at the reunion, and I know his mind, isn't probably as sharp as it once used to be, right? And so now I think I probably lost my window. I should have done it a long time ago, but no, I never really have reached back out to him. And I got married soon after that. Talked to him one time soon after, but that was it.
Let me ask you this, because you were there at the same time I was there. The transferring of Jason Collier and Luke Recker, excluding Neil, because we kind of knew why Neil was getting out of there. But what is your recollection of why you think each guy ended up leaving the program?
Yeah, so that's a great question, man. Because coming in, so they're both, and I take it for what it's worth. But at the time, right? So McDonald All-American, had all the accolades, had everything coming in, and great. I mean, Really good players, really good players. I think could have been, great IU players as well if they'd have stayed there all 4 years. But along the way, sometimes maybe the accolades and maybe someone not challenging the way that they're playing basketball catches up with them, right? So no one really of coaches, we'll say his language or his type of speaking really had ever really
nice way to put it.
Yeah, had ever really challenged them. And so when you have that, it's like a culture shock, right? You go from one extreme, everybody's kissing my ass, to, hey, now this guy's saying I'm not doing anything right.
Right.
I think maybe that takes a toll on if you've never really experienced that, right? So, or had that mindset. And that was, I think, the transition of type of player. I'll just say that type of player really was during our era of when it kind of position, goes more over that player relationship than it was just like, hey, do this because I say. And that was being questioned. So I don't know if Jason at the time, unfortunately, we're all young, man. You don't know how to handle it. But him and Wrecker, unfortunately, kind of saw it as, that I don't want to go through this for 4 years when it's a short-term thought, right? Like, obviously, you stick it out. In my opinion, they would have been better players. I know they went that route, and I know they did very successful, at Georgia Tech for Jason, and Wrecker goes to, I think, Arizona, and then goes to Arizona, had Iowa, then has a great career at Iowa as well. But sticking it out at IU, I know it would have been special. Something would have happened, I believe. That's just my opinion. But it's unfortunate, when that just kind of led to the bigger fracture and the domino effect after the case, right? For us to kind of pick up and, hey, why did they leave? And then you got to explain it all. But Coach, has one to his credit, I think you had mentioned earlier, like, it was our bubble, right?
Yeah.
He did a great job of insulating us, a great job of us not really paying attention to that, what was taking place after the fact, picking up the pieces, plugging in some other players. All right, let's go to work. So, but yeah, at the time, I mean, I was shocked. I don't know about what did you think?
I had the same feeling that you had. I've always said that I felt like it was just the changing of the recruit, so to speak, and it wasn't at that time who Coach Knight really was to accept that I'm gonna have to kiss a little ass, going forward. It just wasn't him. He wasn't gonna do that. That wasn't his style. And when you're at that peak and at that pinnacle of success in high school, then you feel like the recruiting process is ass kissing. But then when you get there, it's all about what you can't do. And, I was prepared. I had heard that in high school before, focus on your weaknesses, and nobody's going to pat you on the back for scoring 30, but they're going to tell you got beat on defense 5 times. Like that was the system I came up under. So, but I didn't think that they were able to handle that. And I think that we all handled it wrong. Like, I think that as teammates, we should have had a conversation with them,
right?
Because we were all better together. And a conversation like that would have brought us together, you know what I mean? And and the one thing about, I always compare Coach Knight's system and his culture at that time for us to the pros. It was like, once practice was over, we scattered.
Yeah, we did.
It's like, went with your roommate, I went with my roommate, and that's kind of like the pros. It was like, man, you don't go hang out. I mean, you hang out later sometimes, but after practice, you don't stick around and kick it with your guy. We all just was like, all right, man, that was enough. I'm out. I need to go get something to eat. I got to do this. And we never created those relationships that were necessary for championship level basketball. That's me looking backwards, knowing what I know now. And it wasn't something that was taught to us at that time. I think Coach Knight's programs, it just happened naturally. A lot of those guys were from the same area, states, Illinois, but we had Minnesota, we had Delaware, we had Indiana, we had Florida, we had Texas. Charlie was from Florida, Larry from Florida. We just had people from everywhere, and we didn't share those common Midwestern roots. You know what I mean? And then you would throw in a guy on those other teams from another place, but the core of those guys were from that area in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. So. I just think knowing all that now, I didn't know that back then. It was just like, you think that's the way it's supposed to be. But at a program like Indiana, you have to have, at that time, that culture, you needed to be together. And that's the only way that you was going, it wasn't, fighting Coach Knight, but that was the only way you was going to get through it. And, I was together. I always just like, all right, man, I'm focused. I'm locked in. But I didn't bring the other guys to focus and lock in with me. So I believe it created the inner competition. Like, oh man, he getting the pub. You know what I mean? He's scoring. He Big Ten Freshman of the Year. This ain't cool. You know what I mean? I'm supposed to be that. So instead of us being friends and that's happening, we already separated. So those comments, because I heard that somebody told me Luke left because of me, like, or he left. He announced that he was leaving after I announced that I was staying my junior year. I never knew that. I never, you know what I'm saying? Like my decision was my decision. You know what I mean? It was like, I'm gonna be a second round pick either way. So let me, because Coach Knight players weren't normally first round picks. They weren't running motion in the NBA. So the stigma was already on me. Did I expect to even be in that position? Hell no. So I went for college legacy instead of NBA professional. Let's just stay and see what happens, man. Maybe we make a good run. We had a good season. The scandal comes out and it just, deflates our whole season. So, and we end with a thud at the end of the day. So, but, I heard that and I, with Collier, I don't know, rest in peace, Jason Collier. This is not anything towards him. He made a decision best for him. But I wish I would have had that point guard center relationship with like, nah, dude, stick it out. We good. He just pushing you. You know what I mean? He just pushing you. Relax.
Exactly.
Shoot every time you touch it. It ain't gonna do nothing. You know what I mean? Like, well, gotta go in. But now that was my mentality. Produce. It was like, produce, man. But if you're gonna talk that talk, walk it then, man. Get out there and produce. And I think Coach, I wasn't an issue because I was consistent and I was producing. At that time, Jason wasn't producing consistently. Good game here and there, but it wasn't consistent. And so it builds that inner team rift, and that I think we, as looking back as we are leaders now, we have leaders in our companies, leaders in our positions. Now I know how to make everybody feel good and feel as one and feel like they're part of the winning team. Even when they aren't, like, but it's what leaders do. And I think those other teams, look at the 81 team, that's, it's 76 team. Like, those are just all natural born leaders. Like, I wasn't a natural born leader. I became as I got older, and I understood I had a voice. Like, I didn't know I had a voice at that time. Like, I was like, man, I could, now if I go back, y'all would be tired of me. Like, my voice came when I graduated. Now I was like, oh, I'm a professional now. I can say, I can do what I want to do now. Like, at that time, I'm humble. Like, I'm just happy to be here. And as a leader, you can't just be happy to be here. You got to step up and say what you do.
Well, yeah, it's funny you say that, because the lack of communication between all of us, honestly, probably could have been a lot better than what it was, right? Having to talk with Jason and Wrecker changes a lot of things. Just having a conversation, because I didn't know. I probably like you, I just found out.
Like, we found out together.
Yeah, they're transferring. Okay, and that happened both, with both of them. Like, all right, I guess they're gone. And but one thing that did help were the former player. I will. A couple guys that always, I don't know about you, but when they would come, because you don't know if is this right? Is this normal? Is this like, and I knew, just following IU, that not many people transfer. I knew that much, right? But still, like, hey, are we going through what the past guys went through? And who was always cool when they came in that I always saw were Evans, Cal, and you had Landon Turner always around, right? Like, hey, get out there and kill him. You're doing a good job. And even like Evans would come over like, hey man, you're a shooter, right? That's what you're supposed to be doing. You get out there, you shoot. I don't care, you miss, doesn't matter. Shoot the next one. And so guys like that, but still it wasn't like among us, it was still missing. And it was, like I said, coach did a good job insulating us, but still stressful, no less, of like, all right, I guess AJ is going to be our scorer, right? Because you lose two guys like that put up some numbers, and you have no choice. Yeah. You better produce now. There's nobody else.
You're right. Yeah. Hey man, it is what it is. I mean, no regrets. I think I had a fabulous career, had a fabulous time with you guys, man. But as you start to get a little bit more introspective when you get older, like, man, what really went wrong? And then you start thinking about, like, man, I wasn't close with those guys. Like, they were good. We were cool. it was never bad blood, but it wasn't like, hey man, let's all go bowling tomorrow.
Right.
Let's go take a spring break together. They would go take their spring break. We go take our spring break. All that kind of stuff is what makes championship teams. And we just didn't have that portion of it. Could we compete with anybody? Hell yeah, because we had Bob Knight on sideline.
Yeah.
We were prepared to play against anybody. But consistently to where we developed the championship medal was because of that. But the one good thing that happened when Luke transferred is that you became the Luke of the team, and you yelled out Luke every time you stepped on the floor, man. How that make you feel?
Hey, of course. And
did you feel like it was a consolation because he left?
No. Hey, the original and the one that stayed 4 years, man. 4. I stuck it out. Come on,
right.
Come on now. I got to get some credit for that.
Yeah, I love that.
Hey, I appreciate, the fan. There's nothing like, because I was on that side, right? I kind of was growing up, watching. I was that fan. The guy, like, hey, the dream is there. I want to try to get to it. I accomplished it. So I know exactly what everybody else. I was rooting for those guys in the '90s, right? Cal, Leary, and Damon, and all of them. So. Yeah, it was nice to be on the receiving end of it. Right. When you come in, it's like, oh man, this is there's not, it's hard to beat. It's hard to beat.
They did it a little bit when you returned for Coach Knight, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Always.
I'm surprised that remember.
Yeah, right. So it's even better when you're older, man, because you don't get the cheers anymore. But I was happy for you because I know the work you put in. I watched you change physically. I watched you get confident in games. Like when you did play, you produced for the most part. And 95% of the games that you play, you did your part. Came in, knocked down shots, you defended, and it wasn't 10 minutes, but in some games, every once in a while, it'd be 30 minutes. Like you just did not know, and you had to stay prepared, man. So I was happy.
Hey, you don't remember this either, I bet. But yeah, I appreciate that. But yeah, so to come in, you got to play your role, right? So I knew my role. I'm not going to be one of those that puts up 20 a game and all that. So, but just doing what I can contribute. I'll never forget though. There's I'm out there for about 10 minutes. There's a timeout. We come over and coach subs for me, and I'm like, what? I'm kind of like, hey, I did a little bit, but not enough, right? Not enough scoring.
Why are you taking me out? Go ahead and say it. Why are you taking me out, man?
No, I said it to you. Exactly. You said that. I go, I didn't do anything wrong. He goes, that's exactly right. You got to get out here and contribute, man.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Contribute. And I'm like, oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
That's what I learned early about him.
Mm-hmm.
I started is right after I think we played. Going into the preseason NIT or something, and I had my talk with my stepdad. I was like, man, it's cool. I'm playing a lot, and you know what I mean. But you take me out a little bit. I don't be too happy about that. My dad is real matter of fact. It's like you need to do something. I was like, what you mean? I'm out here. He's like, I know you just out there. He's like, you need to do something.
You got to make a play.
That moment,
got to make a play.
Got to make plays. And Isaiah Thomas talked about that. He came our junior year. He talked about that with me personally. He was like, man, just make the plays. Make the play. He's like, whether it's a steal, whether it's a create for somebody else or a basket for yourself, if you want to be elite and you want to be considered, that you got to make plays when you're out there. So that's the lesson I give to my daughter and kids now. Like, yeah, you just out there. Like I was just out there. But when you have abilities that are above that, you got to take chances. And that's what a lot of people didn't want to do on Coach Knight's team. No, not a lot of people want to take chances. So can you imagine you crossing somebody over and pulling up a three? It better go in, I tell you that. Or it's like one shot. And then if you make it, you staying in. If you miss it, you might not play for 2 games.
Correct. So exactly.
I was, as you earn that equity and you start willing to take those chances, man. So I just thought it was a funny time period, man. And we were blessed because, man, that's what we known for. Like to this day, you know what I mean? If the Hoosier fans talk to you, it's going to be different than any other conversation you've ever had, man. Because we were there and we were part of the program, man. So I don't have any regrets.
The rundown of questions.
How was it like to play for
What was it like? What was he like? Exactly. And hey, you just mentioned preseason NIT 96. You remember what happened after so it wasn't the greatest game, right? We didn't play well at all, but we ended up last second shot with Andre, with Dre.
Evansville, he was pissed because we won.
Yeah, we go in the locker room.
I had never seen that before.
Oh my goodness, we go in the locker room. Yeah, this is PG. Everybody, no, we go in the locker room, and we're all like, yeah, we just won, but we only beat Evansville by a last second shot. Obviously, it didn't really register that, but he comes in. You remember the table? Bam! Gatorade flying everywhere. Bam! Those kids busted their ass. They should have beat you guys. This is bull. You know, all that just goes off, and I'm like, oh man, so a win is just not good enough. You got
right. That's what that was the moment I was like, damn.
Yeah. You got to win the right way.
Like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it here. Like this dude is bad because we won.
Yeah.
Like we got lucky. We got lucky, man. Like at the end of the day.
That's how I looked at it.
Mm-hmm.
Next game, though, obviously it responded, right? Dre drops 39, beat Duke, and you know, put us on a good path. But still, at the time, exactly, I was my mindset. I'm like, oh, God, man.
I was like, man, I'm getting up out of here.
This is crazy,
nuts, man. They be mad because we won. Like they deserve. But now we're older. We start to understand. Like I know some people deserve to win the game. They may not win, but the way that they played and the spirit and the passion, we almost took advantage of that game of being at Indiana. Like we weren't playing Indiana basketball. We were just, I am Quinn, like, you know what I mean? And we didn't play like Quinn at the end of the day. So now I understood about it. At that time, I was like, man, he flipping tables, he throwing stuff. I'm like, man, what is wrong with you? Dude, we going to the championship. Like, but
hey, man.
The standard was high. That's the day I discovered where the standard was and what we were supposed to be, man. So I know my producer be on me because these must be going 2 hours, man. You don't know. We've been on here for an hour. You don't even know it.
Oh.
But we'll start wrapping up shortly here. Once again, House of Hoosier podcast. I'm with one of my people, Luke Jimenez, who was my roommate coming in, and he was my roommate leaving, which made it real special. Came in as rookies, and we left out, you know, as veterans. But I want to talk a little bit about the return of Coach Knight, man. And you were a part of that. You actually convinced me to come because I didn't want to go.
Exactly.
Like people don't understand. I really don't. I don't have a relationship with Coach Knight. I never did. I never have. Which is another one of those things. If I was me back then, I would have forced him to be my friend. Like, yeah, really. Like, you know, we would have, hey, what up, coach? I would have used my personality to make him. And I joke with one of my hosts, one of my people on my podcast about I got the most hugs out of Coach Knight. I was like, you know, because he hugged me a lot, you know what I mean? Which showed me he cared about me, but we would have had a relationship, but I didn't really want to come. I didn't really want to come because I just didn't feel, I felt like the alumni was fractured. I felt like I haven't talked to Coach Knight to this day until meeting and talking to him at the event. I hadn't talked to him probably 10 years up to that point. You know what I mean? I'd seen him, hello, but it wasn't a conversation. So, but you convinced me to go. And why'd you do that? Why you convinced me to go, man?
I know you probably had some of those thoughts of, I remember you telling me that last year, and I'm like, AJ, you're not going to want to miss this, man. So It's one of those things. I think you earned it. You know, I think you need to be there. I think having, you know, obviously they were in each decade, the most amount of alumni coming back. It's not only for coach, but it's also, you know, all the players. You kind of, it's never been done before. The camaraderie, that many people coming back. Was something I knew I was going to fly, you know, from Florida up, like I wasn't going to miss that. And I'm like, hey, AJ, you got to be there. You just have to. I mean, and I think hopefully you see the, you know, that you're appreciative also that you were there because, you know, it's one of those things in history, right? So a guy builds up everything. We're not having this conversation if Coach Knight's not there, right? I mean, we don't never meet the amount of influence that guy has had over how many decades and how many lives and done so many good things. You know, obviously his tactics are one of a kind, right? Of how he's going to go about it. Not saying that everything that he's done in his life, nor anybody's life, who's to judge, right? But he I think has influenced more people in a positive manner than it's exponential, right? And you and I being influenced by him, you know, I had to have my wingman there, man. You know, we spent a lot of time. I wanted to see you too. Wanted to see, you know, catch up. Kurt, you know, I want to see him as well. Tommy Geyer, you know, these guys that you go to battle with. I think it's important, you know, that I just want to, the limited time that we do get to hang out around each other, here's an event that I wanted you there too. So
right. Yeah, I'm glad you convinced me, man, because it was a great time. It was a great time for my fiance to be able to be a part of something like that. And people don't understand my thought process, and this is how I thought for the last 20 years. You had to win championships to be friends with him. That's how I felt. We weren't able to do that. So I accepted that I just wasn't in that class, and I went my separate way. And I had up to the point of last year, I had really accepted it. Like, hey man, it is what it is. You had to be in that class in order to have that type of relationship with him where the Quins, Quinn Buckner used to come around all the time. Scott May was around all the time. Isaiah come when he wanted to, all those guys that won something for him, they seem to have a close relationship with him. So I accepted that. And once I accept something, I usually don't go back on it. Like, I'm done. I'm done with it. It's cool. I got the utmost respect for him because he did bring every ounce of whatever he could out of me as a player. But, as far as like caring about that kind of stuff, I just didn't. And it had gotten old at that time. It was like, kept hearing about it. People want to talk about it all the time, or, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I was standing on it. But I'm glad that time that I just like, man, you know what? I'm going. The fellas want to see me, and it ended up being the best decision, man. And we got a chance to go out on the floor and the ovation and see it firsthand, him with the guys, and celebrating that moment, man. And I'm glad we didn't miss it. The anniversary was a couple of days ago, which makes it even funnier. Like 3 days, I think it was February 8th was the 1 year anniversary. How quick a year goes. And it's almost like meant to be because COVID hit right after that and everything was shut down. After that. Right. It's like 3 weeks after that, COVID shut everything down. So that might not have ever happened if we waited, any longer. So you just be great, just being grateful for being, for changing, God changing my mind and me coming and being a part of that. So,
and I think, you know what, I guess I got to throw this out there. Maybe you feel that way too, as far as, cause you work, on our team in that class and whatnot. You were obviously the leader, the distinct one that everybody's going to remember, knows, right? Household name, AJ Guyton. And so obviously you have that burden on your shoulders that you took that on for such a long time. And I don't think Coach ever looked at it that way, man. I think he loved all of us. He wanted the best for us. I know, even I said, even after I got my job, but even him being involved with me getting married, he kind of gave me a call out of the blue and just wished me, have a good wedding, have a good life, blah, 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 whatever. But like you, I don't know, but feeling it that way, it probably wasn't the case. You just think about things maybe, but you were such a big contributor to the program. I know he's got a, just talking with Pat and I, him knowing, what you did is special at IU during that time period of so much, conflict.
Right. You know what? There was also guilt. Guilt was, if we could have just got over the hump, none of that would have ever happened.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's deeper. It was deep. I've since God, no, it's not. I don't think about that now, but at that time, this event was like almost me getting over it. Like, you know what I mean? Because we let's think we would have won one Big Ten championship, that might have ever happened. Like Coach Knight would still be there. You know what I mean? When somebody said to me on the pod, I think Tom Coverdale was like, man, it was going to happen anyway. Yeah, he's like, you're not going to censor Coach Knight. It is what it is. Like, he's like, it was going to happen whether that year or the next year, it was going to happen. So, and I was like, yeah, you're right about that. I never thought about it. It's just a trip into my mindset and how I was dealing with it all and handling it all. I understand it. I'm proud of the time that we had, but I understand what the standards were. And and I don't try to, I was this, I was that. It was like, hey, if that's you guys' standard, then it is what it is. I wouldn't trade me for anybody. Like, maybe Isaiah. I might want to be Isaiah. But I wouldn't trade me for anybody, man. But it was me getting over it as well.
Well, I will say this about our class, right? So obviously, one of the, if not the only class during his era not to win a Big Ten or a championship, right? Mm-hmm. And there wasn't a day in which we did not cheat ourselves with trying to get better, right? We competed at the highest level of our ability. I could say that every day you're coming in, you're working, you're trying to get better, do as much as you can. And I don't know, at the end of the day, I mean, we're in our 40s now, right? We're old guys. When you look back at that young of an age, I mean, what more can you ask for? Right. I mean, you're doing everything possible to be successful. And, you know, it didn't happen, but I don't feel like, hey, if we would have, you know, if we would have gone 4-hour practices, it would have been better. Right. I mean, yeah, we did everything we possibly could to be the best we could at that time.
You can tell, because at the end of the year, when we got beaten in the first round by Pepperdine, Kirk was injured. It was just like the perfect storm of everything that could go wrong went wrong. Yeah. And it started really in the Big Ten tournament when the tape resurfaced. Like, people don't understand that the incident happened our freshman year, but the thing didn't come out until the end of our senior year. So it was like, you know, a lot of times like, damn, what y'all talking about? Is really, at that time, I was like, what you talking about? Because it happened 3.5 years ago, and that'll be 21 years in Indiana basketball time. Like for what we went through, like, it's like we had been there for 20 years. Like, it's like, so, you know, we kind of, when the game, I don't remember anything about our final game. I remember nothing.
Against Pepperdine?
Against Pepperdine.
Oh,
I remember nothing. But
I remember like it was yesterday.
For me, it was like, it's over. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was like, just walk away, man. Like, just go. And I never really thought about it again. You know what I mean? It was like, it didn't work. It's over. That's how you do a relationship. It's over. It's over. You don't keep trying to make it work. You move on at the end of the day. Yeah. And it was like, you know, but I regret that, because it's like, man, you know, we put a lot of time and effort into that. You know what I mean? To have it just go to in a thud like that, like, you know, with everything going wrong, everything that could have went wrong went wrong. Second best player gets injured. You know, we starting guys that ain't played very much, playing against a team that was well prepared for us, played zone, which was our kryptonite. Some nights, if we didn't have a week to prepare for the zone, we was in trouble, because all we do is practice motion all 5 days a week.
Yeah, exactly.
But when we played tempo and we prepared, we was ready. You know what I mean? It was like, so, you know, we went through some stuff. So it was, you just kind of just left it behind you and moved on, man. And, you know, that was, you know, there was no regrets there. I mean, it happens. We made the NCAA tournament. We had a great, that to me was one of Coach Knight's great coaching jobs of our senior year, because we didn't have a lot of talent, but we was right there. I remember the game at Michigan State where they tied it up, sending overtime, and actually the game at Minnesota where we gave up maybe like a 6-point lead.
Yep.
Those were the two games that cost us our opportunity at the Big Ten title that year.
Yeah.
I think we ended up losing 6 games in the Big Ten, or 5. And those 2 games right there were those games we should have won. You know what I mean?
Was that at Wisconsin that year too?
No, it was
that we lost. We were ahead and lost.
Yep, we lost in that game to the last Big Ten game of the season, but we were out the race at that time, so I didn't count that one. But at Michigan State, where we were up 6 with a minute and we were on the free throw line, and then at Minnesota we were up 5 or 6 with a minute left, and we ended up losing and going to overtime and losing both games, because, you know, so. It was his best, to me, it was the best coach job since I had been there was that year. Because we just didn't, it was me, Kirk, and Lynn, and, you know, Dane was struggling a little bit. I think if Dane had come along, we would have been fine, because he was the missing piece, the record. And then, you know, and Mike, you know what I mean? So it was like, we're going against NBA players. Michigan State had a team of Morris Peterson, Jason Richardson, Charlie Bell. That's 4 NBA basketball players right there. and our guys decided to go sell drugs. So it's like,
exactly. Hey, you pick.
But that's the genius of Coach Knight. No.
You picked a good game to forget, Pepperdine. That's a good one to keep out of your head, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. So that was awful. Like,
oh my goodness.
I don't remember anything about it.
That's good. That's good. Forget about that one, because that was
I do not remember anything about that game. So, but anyway, man, last thing I'm gonna ask you, man, can you please, would you mind sharing the story of how you asked your fiance to marry you?
Oh.
And how close of a call it was for you being banished from Assembly Hall.
Hey, time out. Where did this intel come from? Huh? What?
You told me.
I told you this? Oh, I haven't told
you. You told me the story. If you don't want to share it, don't share.
No, I will.
I thought it was a hell of a story, man, and a hell of a chance you took.
Yeah.
In order to, and she has to know how much you love her for doing that. Christy Gilbert, who was your sweetheart all 4 years, pretty much.
No, sophomore
year, so two and a half, 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
She's still your wife. You have two beautiful kids together, man, and created a life for yourself, man. So she'll be happy to hear this story. But to talk, what happened, man?
Yeah, good question, right? I don't know. I was crazy stupid at the time, but yeah, we'll make it short and sweet here. So
no, don't make it short and sweet.
Yeah. I obviously being a walk-on, the leash is pretty short, right? But I felt like, hey, I was going to take a chance here. So I was involved, obviously, with my wife now at the time, and had been dating for a little while. Thought it'd be a good time to get engaged and utilize the resources that I had at hand.
Right.
So,
what year was this?
Huh?
What year was this?
So it's been junior season. Junior,
so 97, 98, 99.
Yeah, exactly. Going into, yep. So I had this brilliant idea. I'm like, hey, I'm going to use Assembly Hall. All right, I'm going to do it in Assembly Hall. So I, at the time, we didn't have keys, right? So I had to get a manager, hey, give me a set of keys I can get in later on. And they didn't know what the hell was going on, but they're like, all right, here you go. So get these keys. It's an off day. Like no one's in Assembly Hall. I know nobody's going to be there. I'd already had the ring, everything like that, ready to go. Had my little boom box at the time, right? Old school. And so I take her in Assembly Hall, and she's thinking, oh, this is pretty cool, back, show her around, all this. And so we go to Assembly Hall on center court, and I propose, and it's going like it should, and she's happy. Oh my gosh, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. And well, and I forget this. And before we walked in, I'm sorry, I got to back up. I had ordered a pizza to kind of like throw her off, like, hey, we're just going to eat in here, chill, whatever. So I'd ordered a pizza to Assembly Hall. Maybe not the brightest thing at the time. Pizza guy's there, nobody else is. We're outside, out front, get this pizza going, eat, propose, do our thing, and we're leaving, going. At the time, I'd had this little rinky-dink car, our cars, not like players today,
right.
But hey, our rinky, my little red car. Anyway, as we're leaving the opposite direction, here comes Coach Knight with a cop car right behind him. I know he'd always had that friend of a cop, they're good buddies, whatever. He was coming up to Assembly Hall, and you could park back that day, up right next to us, close to Assembly Hall. And literally, if it was 30 seconds later, earlier, I'm walking out the front door with my future wife right now. That guy, at the time, maybe I'm not there my senior year, right? So I don't know.
So people understand that just don't look good. Like whatever's happening, no matter what your explanation is, it
exactly
just look good.
Hey, the rest is history. It worked. I'm still with her 20 plus years now, and all is good.
Wow, man, that's a great story, man. I have to end it with you telling that story, but I do want to ask you just for the last part to reflect on, what Planet IU meant to you and how has it shaped you in your professional life or what you're doing today and your personal life.
Yeah, I mean, this was pretty easy. I mean, it's probably the best decision I've ever made in my life. I would never have changed any of it. Wanting, having a success maybe at a smaller school versus going to IU and not being, the top dog like yourself. But it was the best experience. I mean, I just can't imagine anything being better. And being around Coach Knight only made you better. Made you want to. You had no choice, number one. But then I think it extends past now, even into my personal life of honestly doing the best you can and competing. Whatever. I'm a salesperson, right? So it's almost a competition every day. Are you doing what you should be doing? Right? It's in the back of your mind. You're always driven. I'm living on 9 acres now. I never thought I'd be doing that. And fixing it up, right? Every day there's a step to improve on my land. But anyway, he's affected my life ever since I was a little kid, watching, wanting to be a part of that program. Just probably like every other Hoosier out there growing up, thinking they have that dream of playing there. I reached it. and definitely can say it's been exponential in its benefits past playing basketball at IU.
Right. Hey man,
Yes.
I feel the same way, man, and what it's done to, catapult us into whatever profession we're in. We know how to compete within that profession. We know how to prepare within that profession. I always say that you go through Coach Knight's program, man, you could be a coach instantly because of the type of preparation, amount of time put into it, the attention to detail, and just understanding that it's always bigger than just you. And so I definitely understand that, man. And I know it's been an hour and a half, close to an hour 20, man. We could go for 3 hours, but
you need to edit this. You need to edit this. Cut it down. Cut it down.
Austin to do a great job of cutting it down. But the content was great. I don't want it cut down. Like they don't want to listen to it. Don't listen to it. But I know the diehard Hoosier fan, man, they want to hear from another perspective, especially a perspective like yours, man. Us being as close as we were and finishing or beginning and finishing together, and the stuff that we went through, man. It's always great to hear from a different perspective, man. So they'll enjoy that, and your family enjoy it. You shot, the stories about your father, whom I did know, and and always had the utmost respect for. And mom, is mom still around?
Yeah, she's in Minnesota. Yep. We get her down here once in a while, but with this COVID, it's kind of throwing a wrench into everything.
It's throwing a wrench in everything, man. And it's great. It's one thing. It's great that you decided not to be Minnesota Mankato's all-time lead scorer in history and come to IU, man. I mean, you better than me, because I probably would have gone ahead and your jersey would have been up there in Minnesota State University right now.
Yeah, no. There was no choice. Come on. No, there was no choice. But nothing. I don't look back now for a second. And really, a lot of this stuff since you reached out to do this podcast, you're starting to go through your head of all this.
Start flowing.
Yeah,
I remember that.
The odds of this happening the way it happened, and me now here, it's like,
exactly.
It shouldn't have never happened, right? So. And what I found out too, and listening to all your podcasts, are great here. It's almost that way with a lot of the guys. Mm-hmm. Like Cal, just all of a sudden, you know what? We're just gonna go. He could have gone to Evansville, right? Yeah. Or yourself, all of a sudden, Felling's like, yeah, here you go. Come on.
I sure was. I was headed to St. Louis. That's where I was gonna go.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Mm-hmm. These players that, who's another one I was thinking about? Oh, Isaiah. Obviously, he had to bring in the heavy guns to get him to come over, right? Because he's out of Chicago. Why would he come to IU?
Right.
And his mom made the decision for him. I mean, just the cascade of getting guys to come to IU is such a thin line between them going and not. And it's kind of funny how we all parallel. So
that's exactly what I was going to say. All our stories run parallel. We all went through the same process. Had the same conversation with Coach Knight. It was like either you coming or you're not. Like it wasn't like, I was going to St. Louis because he was the only coach to come to my house. Like he's the only one that came and sat in my living room. I was like, well, this is what I saw on the movie Hoop Dreams. Like this is like they come to your house if they really want you at that time. You know what I mean? So man, this stuff, like I said, stuff can go on for days, man. I thank you for taking time out of competing in the sales force.
Yeah, right.
To relive your IU stories, man. They're classic, timeless, man. And I'm sure we're gonna run into each other again up there as we. I always tell all the guys, man. One of my goals in doing this is to bring the whole Hoosier alumni gang full circle. Not Knight's guys, not Crean's guys, not Sampson's guys, not Davis's guys. All the guys, man, and organize. And I put it up to Quinn Buckner and Isaiah Thomas to organize that, man. All inclusive Indiana men's basketball.
Well, hey, I'm gonna put your name in that hat, man. You're taking it upon yourself to do this. You should be doing the same. Go ahead, get your name.
I'm working. Yeah, I'm working. But I know they're gonna listen to them dudes. So
well, that's true too. But you bridge the gap between new and old.
Right.
like hey, you kind of bring it all together.
If Quinn calls Oladipo, it's gonna be different if AJ called. You know what I'm saying? You're like, man, what you want? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, but it's cool. Thank you, man, for joining, man. And we'll shoot you the information for the podcast when he puts it. Probably come out in a couple weeks. We got another one coming in, and yours will be after that. So we'll get it to you, man, and we'll let your family have fun with it, man. The people gonna love it.
Good talking, AJ.